previous video I showed you guys me setting this marble mosaic floor. Well, everything's set in this whole bathroom, so I'm just gonna show you guys a few things about preparation for grout. A good tile job can look really bad all said and done if the grouting job is not on point. Your grout joints have to be cleaned, especially on these rectified tiles. Everything's got to be very clean to receive the grout in a way that's going to look uniform, no mud showing through the grout joints. That's what we're going for here. So let me zoom in on a little bit of this. All right, so we get in close here. See, these rectified tiles have this micro bevel. The grout is not going to 100% fill this in. So that little micro bevel, that reveal, has got to be clean. Because when you're shaping that grout, that micro bevel will be revealed. So thin set on there, got to be cleaned off. Let me show you guys an example of what I mean right here. When you're prepping for grout, you got to clean that out of there. All right, pretty straightforward to do. Your box cutter, your razor knife, utility knife, whatever you want to call it. Fast back. And where's that spot at? See all the thin set along there? Alright, the other very important thing when you're prepping is after you set your floor, your clips, you really want to break those out the next day, because if your thin set cures for too long, it'll get extremely hard and your clips won't break out that easy. So let me show you guys this floor. It's pretty messy now, but that's okay. I'm not the cleanest installer. So here's our clips. These are perfect level masters. So like this thin set around these clips, a lot of times it'll cause these clips not to break out clean like they should. Here, like this clip, a little bit of thin set here, none there. So theoretically I should be able to break it off that way there. Let me do this one first here. Alright, so they just break right out. Now these ones here, there's a lot of mud there, so it's probably not going to break out right. See, it just snapped off. But this thin set is just from yesterday evening. See, it's still pretty soft, so that'll clean up pretty easily. But let's see, this one on this side is clean, but not on this side, so we'll see if we can get to break that way. There we go. This is the leveling system by Perfect Level Master. Perfect Level Master, so real nice branding there on these wedges. These wedges, if you're familiar with the system, slide into these clips, which break off the next day, but it cinches your floor down. Gets it perfectly flat. The other thing that's nice about these wedges is they mark on there for you. 1/32, 1/16, 1/8, 3/16. So these actually come in handy quite a bit, especially with the flat bottom there. These wedges are very nice to use. And they're very stout. They do not break. So I use leveling clips or tuning clips, whatever you want to call them. I use them on essentially anything that's 12 by 24 or over. If it's a large format tile like that, I'll use clips, because a lot of times those have bows in them. And not only that, like if your prep's not perfect, if your tile's not perfect, if your installer skills are not high level, you just can't get your floor as flat as you can with the clips. Now, I'm not taking away from the skill set of being able to install floors without clips. You can get a bowed tile flat without clips, then you're a magician. But regular people like me, I'll use the clips every day. And this floor's on a 1/2 inch, I used a 1/2 inch trowel on this floor. So we have a very thick mud bed. You can see by kind of how messy it is that our coverage was phenomenal. Meaning, when you've got a lot of thinset oozing like that, there's a good chance you've got better coverage under there. All right. And I'm not saying being messy makes you a good installer. What I'm saying is I've seen a lot of failed floors where the notch trowel they were using was not nearly big enough to get them proper coverage. So being a very neat and clean installer when you're putting large format tile down with clips is one, either a very tedious process, very tedious to stay very clean, because when you've got the proper coverage and you're using clips, mud is just gonna wanna ooze up on you. Now, some guys can stay cleaner than me, I get that. But having done tile for a long time and knowing what good coverage, proper coverage looks like, I also know what a floor looks like in real time. I'm talking before it's even grouted, as it's set. I know what that looks like when they're not achieving proper coverage. All right, this floor here has very good coverage underneath of it. And the coverage is critical, especially when using Ditra. It seemed like in the old, I shouldn't say the old days, but it seemed like in a previous decade of doing tile work, when we still use just concrete board all the time. I'm not saying this to validate it or say it was right, but it seemed like tile guys got away with less than optimal coverage. And Ditra, while a Ditra floor will last forever if the coverage is good, if the coverage is not good with Ditra, like that grout will crack. That floor will have deflection and movement in it that's not supposed to be there. So it's critical with Ditra that you are getting, TCNA recommends 80% coverage at least on porcelain tile like this, like we're working with. But the closer you can get that to 95%, somewhere in there, similar to what they say for showers, then the better. All right, you want your floors to be solid. Also, I don't know about you guys, but I wear tennis shoes to work a lot, especially on prep days, grout days. Light work, I'm in tennis shoes. The manufacturers want that prepped down at least halfway. So when you're prepping, you've got to make sure that the surface, the top, is prepped good and clean so that no thinset will come through your grout. But you also want to make sure you've cleaned the sides of that tile down at least halfway into that tile. I think that has to do with the structural integrity of the grout, but it could have something also to do with the curing process. Message from the porter, John. Alright guys, that'll do it for this video. Just wanted to keep it short and sweet. As you guys saw, we got it ready to go. Everything's cleaned, surface is cleaned out. The grout joints are shop vacked out. So I hope you guys saw maybe one or two little things that you liked in the video, and we'll see you in the next one.